Today on the Power Rangers, it's the return of Drakkon, the evil Tommy that combined the powers of the Green and White Ranger. This is Comicstorian. I take some of your favorite comic books, I tell you some of the lore, the history, I fill you in on what's going on, and sometimes I break down the main storylines into an audio drama, where I narrate the characters. We remove some of the panels and we cut down on the storyline for the sake of time and to allow you to have something to put into your collection. And if you want to add to your collection, consider checking out one of our sponsors, Shortbox, where you can get collectible comic books easily on your phone. Check it out in the link down below. But let's get into the Power Rangers. Now, this is issues 50 to 55, the conclusion to the comic book series that brought us Drakkon the Evil Power Ranger. But don't worry, it's going to pick up and explain where we are and everything that's going on. The only thing you really need to know is that Drakkon is from an alternate timeline in which Tommy went evil and combined the powers of the White and the Green Ranger to become the Ultimate Ranger and defeat everyone. He was defeated 20 issues ago, so it's time for his inevitable return, because this is comic books. Let's get into it. With the threat of the empowered taken care of and their connection to the grid severed, along with most of the usual big baddies imprisoned or in hiding, the Power Rangers have had a much-needed reprieve from fighting. But as they're called back to the command center by Alpha, everyone prepares for the worst. You see, a comet came crashing to the Earth and even Zordon didn't know what to expect. And when the dust settled, no one expected to find Drakkon. Drakkon asks them all, "When is it? And which here is here? This wasn't a part of the bargain." Rocky asks if they should know this guy, and why does he look like Tommy's dad? Aisha says that she's pretty sure that's Drakkon, minus the lowered portion of his title. And Tommy himself steps forward shouting to Drakkon that he doesn't know what the meaning of this is, but this ends now. Drakkon jumps to his feet, lashing out at everyone. "No, you're not real! None of this is real! You're like mice gnawing at the edges of my mind, but you will not devour my insanity." Drakkon manages to get a few good hits in on the Rangers, but Tommy delivers a devastating punch to the head that knocks Drakkon out cold, telling him that he's not going anywhere. Not this time. Elsewhere in Angel Grove, Goldar, Babu, Squat, and Finster are all hiding in an abandoned gas station, trying to come up with what their next plan is. Because the problem is that, honestly, they all fail. But while the four are bickering about what causes those plans to fail and who is the reason behind it, there's an explosion of red light and a voice telling them, "You're just as loathsome and spineless as before." Lord Zed rises out of the smoke. "I leave you alone for a moment, and look at what you've become! Pathetic! Though, even in my absence, you have attempted to destroy the Power Rangers. Perhaps what you needed was leadership, which is why you're going to help me with my new plan." Back over at the command center, the Rangers are trying to figure out what to do with Drakkon. Zordon suggests that they send him to his own reality. It's there that he can answer for his crimes and allow their universe to heal. While Tommy protests, Zordon tells him that they face an even larger threat. If Drakkon, someone that they consider to be one of the most dangerous individuals in all of creation, is terrified and running for his life, what is that thing? "Drakkon will remain secured until we get answers. I can assure you, there's no way that Drakkon can get out." With that, Drakkon's their prisoner. Days passing, sitting in his cell when he suddenly calls out that he knows who's there. Might as well come out for a bit of conversation. Billy steps out of the shadows, telling him that there's no need to talk. He's just performing some scans so that they know that he isn't carrying any contaminants. And they're gonna figure out where to send him next. "Do you know how I killed my Billy?" "Yeah, I'm aware. But the real question is, what are you running from, Drakkon?" "If you unlock the cell, I might tell you. But I can promise you'll never sleep soundly again." Billy finishes his scan, telling him, "Well, maybe another time then. I'll be back later with food." But it's later downtown when another monster appears, calling out for the Rangers to come meet their doom to the Psycho Slug, the Terror Snail. After the Rangers arrive, Billy quips out that maybe they should just teleport this thing to Salt Lake City. Adam doesn't get the joke. After transforming, the Rangers try to fight the slug back, but it shields itself every time they go in for the attack, deflecting even blaster shots. Instead, they decide to hit it with something stronger, much stronger, like a fully charged shot from the Power Blaster. The blast proves effective, leaving behind a small hardened pod. And Billy reaches in to examine it a bit closer, but suddenly, it disappears before anyone has a chance to figure out what it even is. Up on the moon in Rita's old castle, Lord Zed tells Finster that he did well. This may result in our greatest creation yet. Squat then says that he doesn't understand. The Power Rangers defeated the monster even quicker than usual, and Zed tells him that that was the plan all along. The Rangers are nothing if not predictable. He required the full energy of the Ranger's Power Blaster in order to heal his true weapon. After thrusting his hand into the pod, Zed pulls back and pulls out a fully charged green Chaos Crystal. He then turns back to everyone, telling them that he requires their assistance. It is time I bestowed upon you my greatest gift, the full capabilities of the Dark Rangers. As the four are transformed into even more powerful versions of themselves, they admire their newfound power, and Zed tells them that this is the first step. They are but four. They're going to need someone more, someone vicious, devious, devoid of empathy. Minster tells them that he has no doubts that their new powers would be advantageous, but they do require a leader. And if it's someone truly diabolical that you seek, perhaps I can provide a simple solution. Out of the shadows, a figure begins to walk out, and as she reaches the light, everyone can see Rita Repulsa. As the days pass, the Rangers go about their daily lives. But one of those days, Kimmy stops to check in on Drakkon. Drakkon looks up, telling her, "This is familiar. Did you come here to put an arrow between my eyes?" She asks, does he think that she wouldn't? Drakkon laughs, "Oh, I know from experience, but to make things interesting, let's see if I can give you some incentive. You told me a lot when you were the Ranger Slayer. So many secrets, personal things. Like how you really feel about your parents. How you secretly flirt with your friends just to make sure they like you. And how you love to lie. I know what scares you. I know what you're ashamed of. And most importantly, I know how to hurt you. And all of your friends in the most specific ways. And you know what? I have." Kimmy stares as she pulls back on her bow, and Drakkon says that she can do it. No one will miss him. "Come on, you coward! Kill me!" Kimmy takes aim and then releases the tension, telling him that he isn't fooling anyone. Don't worry, someone will be here to put him out of his misery, but he is not her kill. Meanwhile, up in space with the Omega Rangers, the original Rangers, Jason, Trini, and Zach, are getting ready to make their way home, but not before they help some displaced aliens back to their homeworld after leaving Safe Haven. Z tells everyone to make sure that they all have their belongings, as they'll be arriving at Gorvius 3 momentarily. But as Spectrum 2 descends, everyone looks out the window to see the world is on fire. Jason asks what are they looking at, and Z tells him that it appears to be a cataclysmic meltdown. Trini wonders what could have caused this. Was it an asteroid or a comet? And Z tells her no, scans show it is not a natural disaster. There is a massive energy disruption that attacked the planet at a molecular level, and all of his findings suggest that this is the origin point. The three Omega Rangers teleport down to the location that Z spoke of, looking for clues, but all they find is a mostly melted world. Jason radios back asking where should they be headed, and Z says that he is getting some readings, multiple points of movement converging on their location. Suddenly, all around them, the Rangers see creatures crawling towards them, and they get to work dispatching the massive group. Zach cuts through one, stating that it shouldn't be too hard, but Z tells them to be careful. They have regenerative capabilities that are off the charts. As the creatures form back together, they smack Zach, knocking the wind out of him. Trini takes her Omega Hammer, smashing through the batch, but before she can pull back, a pair of arms reach onto the handle, pulling her back down. But before more creatures could attack, Jason rushes through with his sword, slicing the monsters. "We gotta up our game a bit. Time for the Omega Strike." Without a second thought, Jason and Zach pull themselves and turn to each other, punching into each other's gauntlets, creating a loud ka-ting! Trini then charges up her hammer, leaping into the air, bringing it down onto their fists, generating a massive shockwave that rips and tears the monsters apart. As the monsters fall to the ground, Zack shouts in triumph, "Eat your heart out, Power Blaster!" And Jason says that they need to keep moving. They have to find out what was going on here. But Z tells him that he doesn't know what he's looking at. But there is something very disturbing coming towards them. Suddenly, and almost as if on cue, there's a tremor coming out of the ground, and Trini says that they might want to call in the Zords. At that moment, an ominous voice calls out to them as a being with 4 arms floats before them. "Omega Rangers, a fitting name as you have finally reached the end." Back on the moon, Rita Repulsa uses her magic to cut down a group of putties, telling them that she can understand the affinity to these things. They're versatile, disposable, and relentless. But if they plan to overwhelm the Rangers, they'll require a significant upgrade. At that moment, Rita is stabbed in the back, and Zed tells her, "I couldn't agree more. You may not be the real Rita Repulsa, but your fighting skills are adequate enough. Well done, Finster. She almost had me fooled. My Dark Rangers require a proper leader, someone with all the benefits of Rita, her spells and experience, and none of her many, many flaws. However, if she can pull herself back together, the job is hers. I will grant her the power of the Dark Red Ranger. Just don't make me regret it." But Zed isn't the only one looking into bringing in a new set of Rangers. Over with Grace, who was the original Red Ranger who now works with a government program known as Promethea, Billy helps with the repair of the original Dragon coin. The two finally made a breakthrough on recharging it without any failures. Billy says that Zordon is going to spin in his tube when they tell him that they have fixed the Green Ranger. But Grace tells him actually they're going to have to keep this one to themselves, for now. She has been on the wrong side of his decision-making one too many times, and she isn't going to hand over a power coin. They've been working on this in secret for a while now. How would Zordon react to the Psycho Dag? Or that they've been working on this behind his back for months? Will he ever trust them again? Billy says, well, Zordon would understand. They're giving him a new Ranger. But then Grace tells him that that's the point. Perhaps they should pick the new Ranger. The screen turns on and Grace begins to list potential candidates. Some are Promethea employees, some are freelancers, or they could have an outsider. Someone that's good in a fight and someone that she can keep an eye on, which leaves an obvious candidate, Drakkon. Billy shouts, asking, "Are you kidding? Are you insane? That would be the last person that we want to give Ranger powers to again." She says that there would be obvious safeguards and protections, that Drakkon is one of the best fighters that the Power Rangers have ever faced. Billy tells her, sure, they'll let their lives rest in the hands of a megalomaniac. And Grace says that she spent a lot of time talking with Drakkon. He's more complicated than one may think. All she is saying is if their lives are hanging in the balance, he could be a valuable ally, but only in the worst case scenario. But a little while later, back at Angel Grove, Tommy and the others get sent out to a disturbance when everyone pauses for a moment to see what they're up to. Aisha asks if everyone is seeing this, and Billy says that it would appear that they are some sort of Dark Rangers. Rocky then asks if this is who he thinks it is, and Tommy says, yeah, that looks like Rita Repulsa. Well, this is getting better by the minute, guys. Rita, who is already transformed into the Dark Red Ranger, tells Goldar and the others that it looks like their prey has arrived. You all know what to do for Lord Zed! And it only takes a few moments of fighting to see the upgrades that Zed's minions received were quite powerful. Kimmy and Aisha are struggling with Goldar. Squat is playing with Billy, and Finster has forced Rocky to stay on his toes every time that they clash. The biggest struggle was, shockingly, Rita herself, and even Tommy was having a hard time keeping up with her. Her attacks are brutal and powerful and somewhat reckless. After taking a swing, Tommy stabs into Rita's hand and he sees it coming undone like the putties. And he realizes that she isn't the real Rita, that she's a cheap putty copy. She begins to laugh. No, I'm not the real Rita. I'm not some cackling old fool, crippled by sentiment and plagued by unrelenting ego. Suddenly she disappears, reappearing and smacking Tommy's sword out of his hand and unleashes a barrage of punches that sends him flying across the street. While still fighting off the others, the Rangers regroup and Rocky asks if they have a new plan yet. And Billy tells him, yeah, go ahead and make the call. Rocky tells everyone to bring out the Blade Blaster, and as they pin the Dark Rangers down, Zed appears nearby. Far enough that no one realizes he's there, but close enough to see what's happening. You are all such incomprehensible morons! I have brought the Chaos Crystal closer, as it can strengthen you Dark Rangers. Or perhaps you require additional assistance. It is time that we took the battle to the next level. He fires off a blast of Chaos Crystal energy, and then with a flash of light behind the Rangers, they notice something starting to grow. Everyone say hello to the Terror Zords! But while that fight is beginning to ramp up, back on Giovannis 3, the Omega Rangers face off against a being that they have never encountered before, one that refers to itself as the Imperial. The Imperial says that they are servants of creation, and that their actions turn the cycles of existence. The decisions that fuel the tides of death and rebirth, and they've just arrived to witness a momentous beginning. Trini asks what beginning, because it looks like he's about to destroy the planet, and the Imperial tells her that this cleansing fire will strip away the old and give birth to another world. They have seen this process countless times, and yet it is always so beautiful. Trini asks what about the millions of lives that they have just murdered? Would they think that it's beautiful to be dead? The Imperial tells her that the Giovannians have had their time, and they chose to squander it. Had they been righteous, they would have ascended to the stars, not merely become another civilization lost to history. Zack then asks who are they to be the ones to judge the others, and the Imperial says that they all have a master. I am simply the instrument of change as they are. But fear not, the Giovannians flow into the soil as we speak, feeding the future and all life that is to come, such as the cycle of existence for this planet and the thousands more to come. The Rangers all summon their weapons and begin to charge in, but as Trini jumps into swing, the Imperial disappears. Across the way, the Imperial laughs, telling them they are very amusing, and Jason says that if he thought that, this next one's going to be hilarious. As Zack leaps in, the Imperial effortlessly knocks him away, smacking him into a floating rock. Jason groans as he gets up. So many stupid rocks. But then the rock begins to rumble and shake as several arms reach out of it, grabbing Jason from behind. The Imperial asks if they're finished yet, but then Zack takes his turn. I guess third time's the charm. He throws one of his sickles, lodging it into the Imperial's mask, but the Imperial smacks Zack down, unleashing a volley of rocks, pelting him with them. The Imperial floats down triumphantly. I have wiped out entire civilizations. I have destroyed gods. We have torn one of your emissaries limb from limb. Do you honestly think you have a chance? But Z radios in, telling them that he might be able to help with that, and he unloads a barrage of missiles and lasers. I hope this works. I'm sending everything that we've got, which might not even matter. It would be advised for you to retreat and live another day, right? The Imperial asks if they wish to see just how alive the planet can be. Allow him to show them. There's a deep tremor that shakes the ground, and after a few moments, there's an explosion of fire as a giant rock creature climbs out and begins to breathe fire on the Spectrum too. Z pulls back, stating that teleporting is going to have to wait, engaging evasive maneuvers. Jason tells him not to worry. It's time to bring in the Omega Zords. We're gonna show this monster some Omega power. Once the Zords touch down on the land, Jason tells everyone to fan out and hit from all sides. They may be smaller, but they're faster. Zack starts by running in, but the monster easily slaps him away, and the Imperial watches, telling him, perhaps I was wrong. Maybe your destiny is to fall at my hands. Zack jumps back to his feet, slamming his arms into the ground, giving the monster a full-charged Omega Sonic Strike. And as the lightning hits it to stun it, the monster shakes it off, roaring again. Jason then yells that the monster is powering up, and he begins to run in, diving, taking Zack with him, and they both fall to the ground, narrowly missing the monster's next heat blast. Suddenly, the comms come back online, and Z says that he's still there, but they may actually have a chance to take this thing out. Jason tells him not to worry and focuses an attack directly at the Imperial, but the Imperial's size just brushing the Zord's attack off. Jason charges for another energy blast, but the magma monster lunges in, slamming him face first into the ground. Trini then says that it's her turn to dance and begins to charge up her blast attack. But as she does, Z radios in that he is diverting the Spectrum 2's power to her. Fire when ready. Once the Zord is fully charged, Trini releases her Omega Spectrum Blast, ripping through the ground and the whole monster with ease, nearly shooting into another planet. Jason tells her good work. What's next? The Imperial's still around? But Z says that he scans the area and there are no signs of who or what this Imperial was. Whatever it was, it's gone. Zack asks if that's a win or a loss, and Jason helps him up, telling him, "Look around. What do you think?" Back on the ship, Z scans the data, telling him that he's sorry, but there are no references to an Imperial in his database. However, the bigger question is, how does something that powerful stay undetected for so long? And Jason says that he doesn't know. Maybe it was sleeping and some idiot woke it up. Z says that it said that it was working for a master. Reasonable to assume it's already targeting other planets. This may only be the beginning. Jason tells him, yeah, set a course for Earth. We're gonna have to confer with Zordon on this one. But the Omega Rangers aren't the only ones in a fight for their life. Back in Angel Grove, the Dark Rangers' Terror Zords are running rampant throughout the city, proving to be even stronger than the Rangers' Zords. No matter how hard any of the Rangers try, Zed's Dark Rangers have an answer for every attack, even at times feinting their attacks so that the Rangers will attack each other. Goldar flies through the air with his Terror Zord, laughing, "Ha! If this goes on long enough, we might not even need to fight!" But back over at Promethea, Grace is watching the events unfold in real time when suddenly Billy contacts her, telling her that they need to activate Green Protocol. She asks if he's sure. Once the box is open, they can't put it away. And Billy tells her, "Remember the worst case scenario? We're living it right now, please, Grace." She pauses for a moment and then looks back to Andrea, asking if the systems are ready. She tells him charged and calibrated. And she takes a deep breath and tells everyone, "You heard the kid. Target the subject with the teleporter. I'm making a house call." Back in the city, everyone is trying to handle their own fights. Rita and her dragon coil around Tommy and his Zord, telling him that there is a certain sweetness to his ignorance. His story is always going to end like this, beaten, broken, on your knees. With all the battles that you have fought, it was never a question of if, Tommy, but when. Rita calls out to the others, telling them that it's time to finish things. It is time to summon the Mega Terror Zord. As all of the Dark Rangers Zords come together, Tommy tells everyone that they need to bring out the Mega Tiger Zord for this one. But back at the command center, Drakkon sits in his cell when there is suddenly a flash of light, and Grace says that it's been a long time. Drakkon smiles, sitting up. "Well, if it isn't Grace Starling." Grace stops him, telling him that she would love to make jabs back and forth, but she only has 3 minutes before she is found out. "So let's talk, Drakkon." Meanwhile, back out in the city, the Mega Terror Zord is proving too much even against the Mega Tiger Zord. All while Zed yells, "Yes! Yes! Now hurry! Unleash your full power! Destroy the Rangers!" But then there's a flash of green, and Zed looks back. No! The Green Ranger, with a rather familiar helmet, jumps in and kicks Zed to the ground, but he quickly gets back up shouting, "This is impossible! I will not be stopped this time!" The Green Ranger continues his flurry of kicks and slashes, knocking Zed back down, causing him to drop the Chaos Crystal. He pulls the dagger high into the air as Zed is yelling, "No! Stop! You'll kill us both!" The dagger comes down, stabbing into the Chaos Crystal, unleashing a massive storage of power. And with the other Rangers, Rita gets ready to deliver the final blow when suddenly the Terror Megazord is stuttering. With another release of energy, the Terrazords pull themselves apart, and Rita demands to know, "What is happening? We need to separate!" Everyone watches for a moment, and Rocky says, looks like there's something going wrong with Ugly Zord. Tommy tells him, "Don't worry, we're coming to the rescue." And he launches Kimmy Zord. With all of the power behind her from the Megazord, she blasts a hole straight through the Terrazord. With the Terrazords falling apart, Billy tells Alpha that he appreciates the assist. But Alpha informs him they didn't do anything. So Tommy is curious. Wait, if you didn't help us, who did? Back at Promethea, Grace looks through her charts, stating that it was quite a show out there, and to be honest, she wasn't sure what he'd do, but he didn't disappoint. Now that they're a part of her team, there's a few rules that they need to follow, or they'll pay for it. But if they can somehow find a way to work with her, she can promise that they'll both get exactly what they want. The Green Ranger nods, removing their helmet, but keeping their identity unseen. And there you have it, the conclusion to the Power Rangers arc. And what this did was split the series into two different series. One that is going to be following this new Green Ranger, and one that's going to be following the Omega Rangers as they try to figure out what is going on. So if you want us to cover it, make sure you say, "Yes, Benny, I want more Power Rangers" in the comments down below, and give this video a like and subscribe. The plan right now is every week we're going to rotate a Turtles episode and a Power Ranger episode to give you both of these amazing storylines and get you caught up. So don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and join us at Patreon for early access to all of these videos, and I'll see you next time.